So you're going to plan on doing a one-day retreat on your own?
It's actually it's a um, I don't know what you would call it's a meditation sort of uh, center, I guess, um, up here somewhere out in the sticks. I don't know exactly where it is, but um, it's the only meditation center in Northwest in Arkansas, probably, if you can imagine.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Tell me the name of it.
Wattle Hollow Retreat Center.
Who is it run by?
Her name's Joy Fox.
Who?
Joy Fox.
Can you spell that last name?
Fox, I believe.
Fox.
Joy.
Fox.
Yeah.
All right.
She
Okay. I
spent some
don't know
time
her.
in India with her husband. I read their story, um, but I that's what I chose to do for Father's Day. So I convinced my wife to let me do that.
Okay. Is it by donation or is there a fee?
There's no fee. It's donation. It's
Good.
I think it's Vipassana. I don't know if it's like I don't know what the rules and regulations are around the national board of Vipassana or whatever. Um, but it's Dana, it's donation.
Okay. Um, it sounds Tibetan, the words you're saying.
Vipassana?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. It's popular in the States. It that's I think what Sam Harris teaches and um, or what he learned. I don't know. He teaches his own thing, his own weird thing. But I took his whole damn course, and I still don't understand it. But um,
Sam Harris is in business,
yeah, yeah,
and the product that he's selling is Sam Harris.
yeah,
Once you understand that, then you can understand that the bait and switch is the bait is that neuroscience and this and that,
mm,
but then the switch is back to the product you get is actually Sam Harris.
yeah. Definitely doesn't seem like he's got past the ego part. I don't know.
Yes, it doesn't sound like that he spent much time with meditation, but he's grabbed that and
Hmm.
perhaps even the word Buddhism to throw up in his smoke screen. But it doesn't sound like that he knows anything about the Dhamma.
Yeah, um, he definitely knows his demographic and he sells to them. You know. Um,
I'm sorry. What do you mean by demographic?
uh, you know, like a white, impressionable white guys of a certain age, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to put it.
Oh, I get what you're talking about. Okay, okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
I had the context of the demographic of the various things about Buddhism, the various schools and whatnot. That's
Okay.
what.
It's selling to a certain group of people, I'd say. Um, there's a
So
whole group
anyway,
of, yeah, go ahead.
never mind about Sam. I'm more interested in you telling me about the course that you're going to be taking, and you'll know more about it after you take it, I'm sure.
I thought it would just be a 1 day meditation, just meditation. From what I saw, uh, it was just people, sitting, just group meditation. But then when she sent me the flyer, I think there's some yoga involved. There's an hour of yoga at least, and then a walking meditation involved. And then, I believe Vipassana is like, it's like Anapanasati. It's attention on the breath. It's very similar from everything I've seen. But it's maybe not so much emphasis on the right attitude aspect, from what I can see. I don't know.
Yes, as you can probably gather from the way that I've been teaching you, that I take Anapanasati and the Four Noble Truths and incorporate them right together right from the very beginning, especially the Eightfold Noble Path. I've taken the path aspects of recognizing what is right view. And then as the view increases, it becomes more noble. And then sati, to remember, to come back to the breath, but one's right view is that, I should be watching the breath right now. And so when you put it into that context, regardless of what they're teaching, they're actually teaching the Eightfold Noble Path.
Right.
Especially the point about joy, because Westerners need joy.
Yeah.
Generally, us Westerners are a miserable lot.
Yeah, I know. I recognize that.
And so that right attitude has to be an attitude of victory, an attitude of joyfulness, an attitude of, we can do this. We can do. Yes, we can.
That's what I've been practicing this past week. Getting the attitude, the winner attitude. That's been
so
helpful.
important. It's so important to make that change, because the Buddha was a lion. So that means if you're going to attain anything close to the Buddha, it's going to be pretty close to being a lion. Which in that regard, we're talking about the attributes of the lion that humans can take on, and I'm not talking about a mane or fangs, but rather the ability to sit patiently and watch. I know that when you put that kind of thing down, they talk about it stalking, but yeah, we'll use that word. To be able to stalk your own defilements and then pounce on them.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So, more than likely, various teachers over the many centuries have taken on different teaching styles that were over a period of time that maybe have taken 50 to 100 years in each of the places where the teachings of the Buddha went. It took a while for the teachers to figure out how to teach Buddhism to the population there. And one of the major failures of Western Buddhism is that, the biggest failure is too many teachers have come without having proper preparation. That Buddhism came to the West in drips and drabs, to where in Asia, when Buddhism was introduced into a new place like China or Tibet, it was introduced by nobles who knew the whole Dhamma. And then they had to figure out how to teach this Dhamma that they knew to this population.
Yeah.
The West has got the different problem altogether, and that is they don't have the deep knowledge of the Dhamma. and they don't have even the concept of the nobility. And so students are left at the level of being victims rather than say, if you're going to be noble, if you're going to live a noble life, if you're going to be noble minded, nobles don't blame. Nobles do not blame anybody for anything. That's part of being a noble. It means kind of unified. That's why the Buddha was using that term, even though the word Aryan in his day had to do with racial, in the sense that the Aryans were the one who had the standing army and beat up the Brahmins and took all the land back and all of that kind of stuff. But he changed the definition of the word from into okay. There, when we use the word aristocracy, then that means a whole bunch of bad people with too much money. But if we talk about it in the terms of aristocratic, then that's talking about the kind of position that a person would take. We can call it also like noble, integrated, honorable. These are the terms that we use for such people, and yet we don't see very many of them. That most people are living a fairly low class life because they haven't chosen yet with the strong determination of coming out of their low class and start living a super mundane life. When I say super mundane, I'm talking about the mundane is the low class, banal, and we need to remove ourselves from that kind of middle place. Now, there's a lower class. The lowest class would be criminals and anarchists and all of those who have totally wrong view. But then ordinary right view still is subject to suffering. That it has clinging built into it. It's got the law of karma. So if I do this, then I want that. All right. So this higher class, or the supramundane, noble class, starts with right view, and as one's view becomes more noble, then things start to really fit together. Our attitude changes to a very noble attitude, and one of the most enduring qualities of that noble attitude is being friends with everyone, to not compete with other people, to be satisfied with the way things are now, to be complete and whole and content. And so this is actually the practice of anapanasati, so that when you're practicing anapanasati correctly, you're actually placing yourself into a noble state of mind. And as that noble mind develops, it develops into what you would call a pinnacle or a peak that can be called unification of mind, where all of the elements of the mind draw together so that there's no more internal conflict. Because partly there's no more doubt. If there's any doubt, then there's going to be conflict. Now, there's certainly going to be a lot of stuff that we don't know, unsure about. But that doesn't detract from our confidence. So that's another element of it, is called shraddha, or confidence, that brings on this noble state of being. Now, the word samadhi here, when it's listed on the Eightfold Noble Path, most of the translations are into the word concentration. But normally the way that we mean concentration is by pushing unnecessary things out so that we can focus down on the actual essence. But that's not what samadhi means. Samadhi means gathering everything together into one place. An example of that would be a yurt. that's got a rigid center pole, and then all of the rafters or the ridge poles stand around it, and they all collect at one point. Native American teepees are exactly that same thing, that they have a central point where all of the poles are collected together. So that's the Samadhi of the teepee. You can also recognize buildings that have domes, like the Capitol building. That top of the dome then is the Samadhi. That's the central top point. And that they build those buildings intentionally so that they can have that central top point. Buildings are built like that in Asia commonly. The older the building, the more likely it will have a central top point. And this is what we mean by samadhi. So the gathering together of the mind is basically what the whole training is about, anapanasati. And then with the mind trained to bring together all the elements of the Eightfold Noble Path.
Yeah.
And so this is the way that it is to be practiced in every country in Asia that has Buddhism, but they do it with different manners, different methods based upon the people of the place and time. For instance, Tonkas and spirits and all of that is from the religion of Tibet before Buddhism came. And so Buddhism just joined right up and mixed right in with that drink until Buddhism finally kind of took over, but it didn't ever lose all of the qualities of the old method for that particular culture. Same as Zapantir. In Thailand, it's very humorous when I show some of my friends around of how much there is of the old Thai religion that's still here in Thailand. Because Buddhism never wiped it out. It just came in and sat down beside it, made friends with it. And so that's what we have to do with the Western Buddhism is we've got to find a way so that it can come in and be understood by the people. Not expecting them to drop the old culture or the old ways of doing things for the whole society, but rather that in that society we'll have a huge number of nobles that know how to live nobly, that actually are examples to other people, even though you may never ever teach Dhamma. And so you probably heard about the precepts, the five precepts. Not killing, not taking things not given, sexual misconduct, telling lies, drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Surely you, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've heard of those.
All right. Now, in ordinary world, or let us call it the Buddhist religion, those things are taught even to children. That these are the kinds of things that you should aspire to, that you should, refrain from killing and refrain from taking what's not given. But actually, these five precepts, except for the alcohol, are actually part of the path factors in the sense of right attitude, right action, right speech, and right livelihood. But the important qualities of this as path factors is that they are done naturally by a mind that is noble. A noble mind, one that is free and clear and pure, naturally does not kill. He naturally abstains from taking what's not given. So he would naturally give the Dhamma free, freely available, the nobles. And so that's one of the qualities to always look at, that if Dhamma teachers are charging money, then they're breaking the precept and they're acting in an ignoble fashion.
Right.
Okay, so that's one of the questions that I asked you right from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Does this group charge money? Because that's a key issue, you see. That's the problem, by and large, with what's happened in Western Buddhism, is that it's taken on kind of the oh, as much the psychologist model of the
Yeah.
client has to pay the psychologist, and then it's still up to the client to get all the work done.
Right. It's either about
So,
selling books or selling seminars or speaking fees or
are doing retreats and things like that.
right,
Yes,
right.
exactly so. Or the bigger one is having a large teacher training program, starting your own kind of Dhamma university, giving
Mm.
diplomas and that kind of stuff. That's probably the worst of it.
Yeah, it directly uh, not what it's supposed to be about at all. But in America, I think any self-help can't help but get away from trying to. They don't want to tell people that capitalism is bad. So it's you got to reassure people that they can continue with their capitalist life. That's part of it, and part of it's they have to exist in the capitalist economy too. So it's yeah.
Exactly so, but there are ways out of the capitalist economy.
Right.
In fact, it's been well known for centuries and centuries. The Israel government had kibbutz. Do you know what a kibbutz is? It's
I've
a
heard
farming,
of it. I don't know.
it's a farming community.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, back in the hippie days of the 1960s with the chartreuse microbus and all of that kind of thing, that there were wavy gravy and a few started communes.
Hmm.
Now I don't think there's any of those communes left. But the point that I'm making is not that they're hard to start and
Hmm.
that they're unknown, but rather that this kind of thing has been done for centuries. That was what the Catholic Church and the monasteries were all about. That was what the Sangha, the Buddhist Sangha, that's so alive and well. In fact, right now, I think there's probably, the last I've heard, there's about 6 million ordained. I have to use the word monks and nuns, bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, etc.
Okay.
Imagine there
Right.
are more Buddhist nuns and monks ordained on the planet Earth than any one particular army. The largest army in the world is the army of Buddhist monks and nuns. If
Wow.
they can solve the problem, then Americans can solve the problem too of capitalism.
It's a nice thought.
Yes, it is. It is. Dom Kim, in fact, is a place part of Achan Bhikkhu Buddhadasa's world. Is a place that has room for about 40 or maybe 50 Westerners who are invited to come and stay free of charge. The food will be vendable. You go out with the monks. Free room
Mm.
and board. Come stay. The only thing you have to worry about are the things that you bring here or the things that you have to pay for on the outside. But everything inside to be taken care of. Those kind of places exist for
Mm.
people who want to find them.
Right.
But you're right, exactly. You see, that the Western teacher will say, "Oh, well, I've got schools and cars and insurance and buildings to pay for, and I do not have the lion's view that we can do this no matter what. Everything will work out just fine." Instead, they take the victim's view of, I need to charge money
Mm-hmm.
to get this
Yep.
thing going. All right. So it really does speak about the level of Dhamma that one has by charging money. So this is an example of the distinction between ignoble and actual noble. The drawing together of all of the factors, so that by having then a noble attitude or a noble
I've got
mind.
something going on here. I think my child is going crazy.
Go ahead and do that. You don't have to explain it to me. Just go take care of it if you need.
I may have to cut it short. I'm sorry. I think we might have to take him to the hospital.
All right. Let's cut it short and go through that.
Yeah. I'll call you next week. Sorry.
All right. Good luck with your retreat. We didn't get a chance to
you.
talk about it, but that's okay. You go take care of business.
All right. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye bye.